All right, you guys, welcome. We are live. 1 second. Hey, bosses. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about rental income and how you can start investing. All right, so this class tonight is for those that may already have a property that they can possibly rent out, or you're looking to acquire an investment property. So the first thing we're going to concentrate on, get my camera back on, you guys. It's not being nice. It doesn't want to be nice to me. There we go. Back on? Awesome. Okay. All right. Technical difficulties, it's all right. So let's talk about rental income, whether you are looking to purchase your first property, you already have a potential property that you want to rent out. And so what I want you to really gain from this live tonight is how you can make sure that you're making a profit with your property. And so I hope you take this rental income 101 as an opportunity for you to be able to flourish. All right, let's find out what is going on with my camera, y'all. 1 second. Huh? All right. I think I might have fixed it for now, y'all. Okay, let's see. Let me get my screen back sharing. Okay. That's a little better, but we're going to make it work, y'all. We're going to make it work for now. Okay. So let's talk about rental income. Now, the first thing I need you to understand that is when you are approaching a lender, basically they're going to ask you, what type of property it is, whether you are renting it out or is it for you. So with rental income, basically what it means is that it's a lease agreement that is signed by individuals stating that they are renting out that particular property and they will be occupying it versus you, which means that that property is what you call non-owner occupied. What that basically means is that you, the owner, do not live in that property. So this right here is the first step when it comes to rental income, because if you are living in the property, then it is going to be considered a primary residence or a secondary residence, which means that your intention is for you to live in that property versus another person. Okay. So that's what rental income means. The intent is for you not to live in it, but to make a profit. All right. Now, there are different types of properties, of course, that you can purchase in order to earn extra income or rental income from. So we have single family residence, which you'll see labeled as SFR, single family residence, which a lot of investors start with. It's a great way for you to get started, especially if you already are a homeowner. Great way to get started in the with real estate investing. And so basically this means this is considered a one unit. Okay, one unit. Then you have multifamily. Okay, you have an option for a multifamily. Now there's two types of multifamily here. Okay, you have 1 to 4. Okay, and then you have 5 to 8. Anything 8 and higher is usually considered commercial. Okay, and that's the third one, commercial. And commercial can be multiple different, you got multiple types of properties, right? This can be hotels, this can be RVs, mobile home parks, all type of things. That's the outlier of the commercial. Now, when it comes to multifamily, we're going to stick around here, y'all. Okay, because this is usually where beginner investors start. So with a single family residence, that means that's one unit. So it doesn't matter how many bedrooms is in there. It's considered one entity, a house. Okay. Versus a multifamily, which can be a building with up to 4 families in that one building. Right. And then you have multifamily 5 to 8. And that may be a little small structure like this with multiple properties with it. Okay. Now, for the basis of tonight, we're not going to talk about commercial because that's a whole nother ballgame. I promise y'all. I love commercial, but that deals with all types of things, cap rate, stuff like that. We're not going to worry about that tonight. So let's focus on. I done lost my thing, y'all. I done lost my eraser. There it is. All right. So we're not going to focus on commercial or 5 to 8. The reason why I'm not going to do 5 to 8 is because even though it's considered multifamily, you're moving into more of the commercial space. Okay. So tonight we're going to keep it at multifamily and single family, 1 to 4. The reason why is because you can be able to get a quadruplex, right? Using the same type of loan you'll get for a single family residence. So that's why I want to stick here, especially if you're just beginning, because when you start getting in multifamily larger than 4 units, it's some other things that you just got to know. All right. To make sure you're making a profit. Okay. So the type of property, your main focus is, especially when you're starting out, you could be able to use your single family residence that you already have, or you can go and find one. You can go and find a multifamily unit. And so here is what I want you to understand when it comes to rental income. Whenever you're trying to be desirable for a renter, right, there's some things that you as an owner have to pay attention to, because who's paying this mortgage? Who pays the mortgage? Huh? Who pays the mortgage? Is it you or is it the renter? Right? So when you're considering who pays the mortgage, that's going to determine how much rent you can charge. So your rental rate. This is also that's added in here. So you got to think what's going to be determined in those expenses. Because even though you may want to rent out your unit, one of the things you got to consider is who's paying for it? Who is paying for this? So you want to reverse engineer, right? To understand who's going to pay this mortgage and how much is it going to be. So some things that you want to consider, I want to tell you things that you want to consider tonight to help you determine the rental income you can charge for your mortgage. Now, for your property. Now, here's the thing I want you to consider also. The more people you have in here, you may have a larger loan, but you may have more cash flow, right? But there may be more risk. There may be certain things, pros and cons for each of these. So like, if you think about it, this pays all to this, okay? And then I'm going to break down with you the expenses so you can determine how much income can I really make from a rental unit if I decide to rent out, okay? So here's the difference that I want you to understand from a single family difference and a multifamily. Okay. And then we're going to go into getting to how much can I really charge and how much can I make? Because that's why we're here today, right? We want to know if I get started in investing, let's be real about how much I can earn from rental income. And I know some of y'all probably have seen where people say, well, I'm making thousands of dollars a month. Well, I'm going to tell you how they're probably doing that, okay? So they're probably doing that because, number one, the balance, okay, on the loan. So the balance here is going to be lower, usually, okay, than it would be over here. Because in a multifamily, they're factoring in more than one unit, right? Versus a single family is one unit. And but here you got up to 4. So it's going to be calculated in that balance. So usually, let's say you might buy a $300,000 house, but you may find a multifamily unit for $500,000 because it has multiple units in there. So the person that's selling that is taking that into consideration. Now you can still find some that's still, the same amount, but it's going to cost you fixing it up. And so that's another thing. You may have higher renovation costs. Now, you really can't say this is comparing apples to apples, okay? Please understand that. But I want you to kind of choose like, okay, this is what I need to understand when I'm figuring out what do I really want to make, right? But you can also have higher rent, which equals higher cash flow, okay? So a single family residence, you're dealing with one family. Multifamily, multiple families. So what is your risk tolerance? Is this something that you can really handle? Do you really want to handle multiple families? Or are you okay with one family? All of this plays into your rental income. Okay? Now, let's get to the gist of this on who pays my mortgage. We already know who's paying the mortgage is going to be the renter. They paying the mortgage. Okay? So decide which one you want to start with. Go ahead, make the decision. In the masterclass, we kind of go more in depth on this. In the build wealth with real estate masterclass, we go a little bit more in depth on each of these properties. So I'm not going to do that today because we want to figure out who's going to pay. Now, remember I told you we got to reverse engineer. Okay, we got to reverse engineer this thing. So the first thing you want to consider is the price of your mortgage. Okay, What expenses do you have? You have your mortgage. Okay. Another thing that may come out of your mortgage is going to be your taxes and insurance. So I'm going to put that over to the side because usually that's already included in your mortgage. All right. So that payment, what is that number? So we're going to put some hypothetical numbers here. No rates, because by law I have to do like disclaimer, APR, things like that. Okay. So let's just say your mortgage is $1,500. Okay. That's your mortgage. It includes taxes and insurance. Who's going to pay it? We want our renter to cover it. All right. Now let's think about it. If you don't want to deal with your property, guess what you're going to have to do? Get a property manager. So now you're paying a property manager. For the sake of this, we're going to put $150. But you're not done here. Now, here's the thing I want you to consider, because I don't want you to walk into investing with these rose-colored glasses on. You need to know what's real, because this is your livelihood. This is your money. This is your life. And if you can't understand how to really count, not 1 + 1 count, I'm talking about really count money. It's a difference. You will go broke trying to be an investor. You will go broke, because not all properties is created equal, and not all locations are created equal. Okay. And so that's going to play into how much you can charge in your rental income. So we're going to back it up in here. Okay. First, we're going to do our expenses. All right. This is our expenses, y'all. Because if you don't know your bottom line, you're going to be at the bottom of the line. All right. Another thing I want you to factor in is the upkeep. This is what a lot of people don't, a lot of investors that's just starting out may not even have included in their budget. Man, when I tell y'all, if you don't, things can happen. Things can happen. And you got to have the money when something happens. Even if it's the property manager managing that property, they're going to take the cash from somewhere. So you want to set some money aside. So let's just say $200 a month. Okay. So now you know your bottom line is 17. Oh, that's wrong. Wait, y'all. Let me calculate this correctly. I do know my numbers. 0, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1850 is your cost. Rental income 101. So depending on your area, can you really charge $1850? These are questions that you got to ask yourself whenever you're looking to buy a property. The reason why I wanted y'all to see this in terms of a breakdown is because these numbers is real. So what if in the area you may found a house that you can only charge $1,900, and that's at the top, tippity top. That means you're going to make $50 a month. And you may say, I don't know if that's worth it. There's other things that you can look at to see if it's really worth it, because it might be a good area, but you just had to touch that, and you're only getting $50 off that property. So don't just go off the cash flow. Okay. So if you're in another area, right? So we're going to say rental market. You may be in another area where you can charge $2,500. Now we talking, right? Now we talking. So by you being able to charge $2,500, all right, let me do the math on that right quick. 25. Let me get my calculator. So I got it. All right. So let's say 2,500 minus our bottom line of 1850. You're looking at $650. Now you like, oh, that property is worth it. That's some profit right there. So let's say you did that 5 times, right? That's $250 a month profit. You did this 5 times. That's $3,250 per month. Who's paying the mortgage? The renter is. All right. The renter is paying the mortgage. So it's not all about, so when you're determining your rental income, you got to really know your expenses, y'all. You got to know your expenses. So you want to make sure you have enough. So another thing I want you to understand when it comes to rental income is, are you really making enough from this property? Right? So there's different things that when it comes into this rental income, and as we go along, of course, y'all already know, I'm going to bring the goods to you. But what I want you to understand when you're thinking in terms of your rental income and what you need to make and where you want that property, as I said, first of all, you got to consider, what property are you even getting? What are you getting? What are you doing? Right? What area are you going to be in? This is very important when you're deciding your rental income. So let's say you own your home. I work with a lot of individuals that are main homeowners. And one of the things that I always tell them to consider is that, number one, the buying process that you took to buy your house is going to be slightly different when you're buying a rental. Because one of the main things that a lender is going to look at is, do you actually have the income? Now, let's go back to our example, right? We had the 1,900 and then we had the 2,500, right, for our rents. All right, let's go back to this example. And then our profit was what? $50 and $650. Now, as a lender, they're going to give you the money. They're going to give it to you. Why? Because it covers the mortgage. But for you, it not only got to cover the mortgage, it got to cover other expenses that your property is going to have. So if you understand how to count to make sure you're making a profit, not just what the lender look at, because the lender only looks at how much are you making versus the rent. Versus the mortgage. And your mortgage has your taxes and insurance already in it. Right? So if that's the case, then for you, you got to understand how much you need to make off that. Now, even though you may want to charge $2,500 so you can get $650, that may not be the case where you're located or where your house is that you want to rent out, because you might be only able to get $1,900 or worse, $1,850 and break even. So which one do you want to be at? You want to be at the one that makes you the most amount of income, right? Of course, we all do. But sometimes being at this, right, being able to maximize this is going to take all the expenses that we just said and understanding that in order to maximize your cash flow, you got to maximize in what you're looking for. Now, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. I don't hate to say it because I'm about to say it. So it is what it is. Not all people know a good rental property. Not everybody knows a good rental property. Okay? And what I mean by that is that not only are you looking at, can I make the money? Because we all looking at, can I make the money? Let's be real. We all want to know, can I make the money? Okay? We want to know that. But There are things that you got to factor in. What is that? As I said, location. This is one of the biggest things that will stop you from making the money you want to make. I'm going to say that again. This right here is one of the biggest things that will stop you from making the money you want to make. So don't be out here looking at properties like you're buying a house for yourself. Don't be out here doing things like you're buying the property for yourself, because what do we say rental income is? It's a lease agreement and proof of payment from a person that is living in the home but do not own it. So location is going to determine a lot. It's going to determine the type of property, people, rate, rental, the rental market. Because even if you want to charge top dollar, that don't mean you're going to get top dollar. And this is from a lender. Because they're going to say, no, in that location, this is what the rents actually are. They trust me. They do their homework. Even if you have a private mortgage lender, they know their numbers. They're going to know, is this really worth it? So if you don't know how to break these down to know and assess a property, it may look good on paper, but what is the reality? The reality is, can you really get what you're asking for? Because not all properties are created equal. Henceforth, I'm going to give y'all another example here. This is why all properties aren't created equal. Not only location, but here's a big one. And it was one of the first things I said. Purchase price. This alone can make or break a deal. This alone can make or break a deal. I've seen it time and time again, especially as an investor. What did I just say? You can't buy a house like you buying it for yourself. So when you're looking for rental income and you want to build your portfolio, because that's your goal, right? Wealth can mean a lot of things, y'all. It can mean a lot of things. Wealth is subjective, right? Wealth for me is being able to be with my children anytime, anywhere. Being able to do the things that I really want to do with them. They're my why. I do it for my babies because I want them to be good. Even if I don't collect, God forbid, no rental income, I know they have a portfolio that by the time I pass away, it'll be paid off and they're receiving all of that rental income. That's wealth. So it ain't about how much can I make right now every month, because not every deal is going to be that way. But this right here, my friend, will make or break a deal very quickly. You want to know why? Because this is only one thing. This is only one thing. So what all else comes with that? So renovations, closing costs, right? And there's even fees in your due diligence. Because there are some things you may have to do in order to even determine it. loan type. All of this and more, because this is just a little list, is going to determine your rental income and how much you can really make back. So when you're thinking about your rental income, and I want to leave you with this. When you're thinking about your rental income, I want you to, so I showed you how to find your expenses. All right. You saw how, okay, this is my expenses. Who's paying the mortgage? The renter. So you already looked at that, right? You know how much you're looking to get for a particular property. You know how much you want to be able to make every month, right? Potentially off that property. You know, in terms of, okay, I got to crunch my numbers in totality. How much is that overall, right? Every month. Every property isn't created equal. So you already know, okay, this property isn't going to be done the same way. And then you already know a lender is not looking at that property as you living in it. So here's the biggest difference. So the biggest difference that the lender is going to look at is who's paying for it. If the renter is paying for it, they're going to use the rental income against the mortgage. If you're buying a primary, they're using your income of what you make. So the process is already different. So to make sure you don't go broke, I'm going to leave y'all with this tonight. To make sure you don't go broke when you're assessing your rental income. Like I said, I'll go more into it in the masterclass, way more in depth in terms of properties and breaking it down. But the number one thing that you gotta understand with this rental income is equity versus cash flow. Because as I say, every property isn't created equal. Now, y'all remember the example we had a property cash flowing at $50 and another one at $650. This $50 may give you access to this equity, right? But the $650 gave you access to cash flow. Excuse me. So when you're thinking about your rental income, are you thinking about long term? Excuse me. Or short term? My answer would be both. Both. But if you're not sure how to calculate these two, then you may thinking, oh, I'm winning big here. I'm not making much, but I got some equity in there. But it may take you, and equity is tied to appreciation. Okay. This is tied to the rental market. This goes back to all properties aren't created equal. So just because, and you guys, you got to know these terms. If you want to be an investor, you got to know these terms. You can Google them. All right. Take a picture, snap, screenshot, Google it. Because you got to understand how equity plays into the long term. If you know you're only making $50, how does that affect you in terms of this property long term? Because this is what I say, properties aren't created equal. In one place, a property took 10 years to double in value versus another one, 10 years, that took 5 years to double in value. Which one do y'all want? Which one you want? You want the one that is going to take long to appreciate, right? But this is why properties aren't created equal. Because this looks like a whole football play, right? Because this is really what, as an investor, you got to understand. All of this, when you're looking at this one thing for rental income, this one thing can affect all of these things. This one thing, which is this rental market, is affecting your cash flow. Your cash flow, this equity, right? Draw this line over here, is your mortgage payment. All of these things play into what you can really make or not make. So even though you may want to make 650, how are you going to do that? You're looking at all of this. And I hate to be, I want you to realize that it isn't just simple, oh, mortgage payment, I can make this off rent and I can cancel the mortgage payment. Like, let's be real. We know what comes with owning a property. If you're a homeowner, say me, I'm a homeowner. Say homeowner if you're a homeowner, because you already know what happens. Roof leaking, stuff break down. You got to fix this. You got to fix that. And if that is not factored into all of this, then you're not making no income anyways. So as an investor, when you're going to a lender, they're going to say, I need to know what's going on. They're looking, the lender, you guys, is looking at all of this. I promise y'all, they're looking at all of this. So you need to be looking at it too, because they're giving you the money. So by understanding that you have to know what this is, and some more, because this is just the basic, right? You got to have a strategy. Please do not be out here just buying properties and just, oh, I want this one. This is nice. This is a good price. I like it. No, it ain't about what you like. This is a long-term strategy and a short-term gameplay. Because if you understand how these two play into each other, you winning all day. This is why it doesn't take long to build $1 million portfolio if you know what you're doing, as well as enough rental income to allow for you to have that extra income coming in. So when you understand in your numbers, then you're able to set up your strategy. So I want you to understand that anytime that you're ready to start investing, please do your math. Do not allow the lender to be the only one that figures this out. Do not. Because if you don't know this, you're setting yourself up. I promise you. Because it ain't just who's going to pay the mortgage. That's just the beginning question that you got to ask yourself. All right. Now I'm open for y'all. Got any questions? Please type them in. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. You can ask any questions even after the replay. If you're watching this as replay, You can do hashtag replay. So know that you got to have lease agreement. And this is just basics. If that's not even right, a lender will not give you no money. If you don't have proof of rents, not saying I'm going to get cousin Pookie to put something on paper. No, because guess what? Lenders are checking. Don't go lying. You can go to jail. That's fraud. That's federal fraud. Don't lie about it. If somebody actually moving on the property, move them in. Period. That's it. So tonight I want you to walk away with this. All right? Three things I want you to do when you're starting to look at rental properties. The first thing I want you to do is sign up for the masterclass. Stop playing. We're going to this even more in depth, okay? I'll teach you the 4 strategies so you can build your own portfolio. But these are the 3 things I want you to consider tonight. Location, property, and your strategy. These 3 things is going to determine how much you make and how much you're able to profit. Okay? These are the 3 things I want you to consider. All right, y'all. So tomorrow, I'm excited because tomorrow we will be going over, I'll tell you guys, if you're already in the masterclass or in the membership, then you will have access to, we'll go a little bit more in depth on this in the membership. If you have access, if you're in the membership, then you already know. You can ask questions about tonight's live. So tomorrow, you guys, we will be going over, let's see, April. Tomorrow, I'll be going a little bit more in depth and helping you build it out to make a 6-figure income. Okay? With using rentals. So we're going to go a little bit more in depth tomorrow, part of our series, our rental series here that we're doing, real estate investing for beginners. So tomorrow we're going to break down how to get to the 6-figure mark with your rental income. If you're already in Wealthy Family Network, you already know you could be able to put any of your questions inside of the group channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Bye.